Hello, I'm Stephen, the man with the mustache, and welcome to The Creative Arts Show. This is the show where we aim to promote the creative arts industry and highlight the wonderful people that work within it. Make sure you subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any upcoming episodes, but more importantly, share this content because we're trying to raise awareness for an industry that really needs our help. It's really been hurt by the coronavirus pandemic, so sharing this video is really going to help the people that work within it. Joining us today will be Kara Burdack. Kara, she's an amazing dancer who's done a lot of independent projects and a lot of freelance stuff, but she also teaches Pilates, yoga, and Barre. That's right, Barre. I hope I said it right. It's one of the most upcoming trends in the fitness world. Kara also teaches and dances a chunky move and counter technique, a couple of studios that are really changing the way people dance. They're very innovative and exciting. Let's meet our guest. Well, Kara, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Tell us how you are.
I'm well today, thank you. How are you? Happy that it's spring now in Melbourne.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. What is it you do in the creative arts industry?
So I'm a freelance contemporary dancer here in Melbourne, as well as a movement teacher. So teaching dance and yoga and Pilates and Barre and general mobility and stuff. So yeah, that's me.
Excellent stuff. So what sort of things have you danced in? What sort of productions and what's some of your freelance work that you've done?
Mainly independent artist work. So my most recent was for the Melbourne Fringe last year with DEANius. Yeah, at Temperance Hall. That was like my most recent. I've done things in Thailand and Italy with independent artists and yeah, art play and all sorts of things.
Excellent. And you do a lot of teaching. So go through again, what are some of those things that you teach? You teach dance, you teach yoga.
Pilates, Barre. Yeah, so
just that last one, Barre. Scott Morrison, that's how you say it, Barre. Very good. For those of you watching, Scott Morrison, our Prime Minister, he really struggled to say that. How did he said Barre or something a bit too much.
Yeah, but it was great because it brought a lot of awareness to Barre. So.
Well, 100%. To be honest, I didn't know what it was until he mucked up saying it and it became an issue, you know. So now I know. So what is Barre? Tell the viewers, you know, what.
It's a combination of ballet, yoga, and Pilates combined into like a fitness check. So using some of the ballet techniques for a workout. Yeah.
Nice. Where did that come from? Where did it start?
I think it started in the US. As most things, these fitness crazes
started trending and
so I think it was an ex-ballerina. She started training some personal training, some models and things, and it's like it really took off when I think some of the Victoria's Secret models were using it as their like pre-show Victoria's Secret.
Of course, it took off. Obviously, Victoria's Secret being very popular and trends with a lot of girls, which is awesome. So, what's your favorite thing to teach?
Definitely dance. That's my my main love, I think.
Yeah.
So pre-pandemic times, I was teaching for the public program at Chunky Move, which is one of the main contemporary dance here in Melbourne. Teaching beginners contemporary dance to adults is my favorite. It's a great opportunity to get people moving and listening to great music and yeah, connecting with their body and their own artistic selves, which is fabulous.
And that's awesome, and it's very motivating, and you know, for self-esteem, I think dance is great. You know, it really shows people what they can do, and to anyone that says they can't dance, I argue that you can.
Yeah, I think everyone's a dancer, and that's what's so fabulous about contemporary dance as well. Like we all have different ways and different points of access with it, and there's no like set routine like there is, I guess, with ballet.
The structure and the discipline isn't there. It's broken down and a bit more casual and more fun, you know, which is awesome.
I guess teaching's my main income, and when there's an arts dance gig that comes up, that's sort of the cherry on top. In early March over in New Zealand, teaching for a full-time dance school there for just like intensive 2 weeks. Okay. And then upon returning to Melbourne, that's when the lockdowns really kicked in. And of course, it happened in New Zealand as well. So I actually continued working with the students I was previously working with in New Zealand until they came out of their big, like, major lockdown. We were doing online classes with them at home. And the rest of my work sort of closed down, shut down. I was only really teaching for private clients. we had an opportunity quickly for Chunky Move to film a short, like 1 hour class with them that people could do home online and is available on Vimeo. So I was lucky enough to slide into the studio to do that before the extra lockdown limitations hit. Yeah, so this second round of lockdown, though, has been much more challenging because obviously people are tired and lost a little bit of steam with it all. So it's been much quieter on the work front, unfortunately, but still chipping away at little things and hopefully like starting to work on things for the future.
So have you been teaching over Zoom and so on? Like I see a lot of people doing lots of classes over Zoom, etc. Yeah,
so it's been Zoom and like Instagram Lives and yeah, just trying to be as available and open to the technical side of the world of sharing through this.
For sure. And thank goodness for the internet and still being able to, you know, do what we love in some sort of capacity, you know, which is really cool. So what have you been up to during the pandemic for yourself? You know, how have you been keeping occupied? Have you learnt any new skills or, you know, taken on any new hobbies, or have you been staying creative?
I guess like everyone trying to find like something new, something exciting. So I have a little collection of pastels that I try and draw and be creative in my notebook. And honestly, like it's been a little bit nice this second round of lockdown to have a break from dancing, I think, and just sort of focus on like my mental health and getting out and going for walks and having a rest. Hope that it'll regenerate a little bit of energy. And along with that, following up a few admin things that we don't necessarily have time to do for when we're racing across the city to different studios and things. So trying to work with a graphic designer, building like a website and collating like some resources and writings of blogs and things into one place, which is exciting.
Excellent. So you're not really letting the time go to waste. Now, one underlining theme that has been coming up in a lot of these interviews on the show is mental health. And, you know, it is very important. And we try to stay positive on the show, and we try and give a positive message that, you know, this pandemic, it sucks, let's be honest. But, you know, hopefully one day soon it will be over. But what have you been doing in particular for your mental health, as you mentioned it? And, you know, what advice can you give to people?
I think for me, lacking the regularity and routine of work, trying to find for myself of like a simple to-do list, like go outside, grab a coffee, like go for like use that hour outside going for a walk, and also just like chatting to like being honest with friends about how you're feeling and checking in. And also like supporting like a smaller bubble and trying to find little ways to support small like organizations or artists working on simple things, just so you feel like you're still contributing, but without it being on this huge, big scale. Like you can see the effect a little bit. I find it's more rewarding for me than it is probably for the people that I feel as though I'm giving to.
Yeah, and you're 100%. And we had a discussion with another gentleman who's worked for another company, but he said that it's going to start local. You know, it's really going to start to get back to where we need to be. It's going to start in the smaller circles. You know, so whether it's your neighbour or talks like this with someone in your city, you know, it's important to support each other, and it's important to be a little bit selfless, but at the same time, being selfish, you know, through that selflessness, you know, it's a weird way to sort of describe it, but you know, help you, help me, sort of thing, you know, which is really cool, and just create a really strong network to support each other.
Yeah, it builds a community, essentially. I didn't know my neighbours in the pandemic, and now I'm very good terms.
Exactly right. Yeah, I'm closer to my neighbours more than ever. Usually I'm around the world on cruise ships. I work on cruise ships, and you know, I'm sailing all over the world. I'm not home for much longer than 2 to 3 months at a time. So it's good to be back for a long time, and you know, just to reconnect with those sorts of things, you know, and myself and my family and the people around me, which is cool. But that's awesome. And now talking about support as well, financial support. Have you been looked after by the government, and have they acknowledged you as an eligible person for a JobKeeper or anything like that?
Yeah, so basically all my work except for the work that I did for VCA, that was all on my ABN. So I was lucky enough to be able to apply for JobKeeper on my ABN.
Amazing.
Which is incredible. And having been a contractor for studios as well, I didn't have that expectation of a studio to fulfill certain requirements for hours and things. So it's really nice to feel very independent in that sense of the government support. I'm able to do all those admin things and work on projects for myself, which is great.
Wonderful. And tell us a little bit about counter technique.
Oh, counter technique. So counter technique is a method and technique created by Anouk van Dyke, the previous artistic director of Chunky Move, that created this movement system and language for dancers to find like more freedom and space in their body. And it's mainly was for professional dancers and full-time dance students. And I've been teaching that, oh gosh, it's like 3 years now, 3 years now, maybe even more actually. Anyway, but yeah, so that's sort of my technique that I share with when I'm teaching professional class or full-time dance students. And
now it's obviously a little bit less clinical. Is that how you would describe it? Less clinical to normal dance schools, or a little bit different, a different approach to learning dance?
It's much more of a modern technique where it's more space for the dancer, in the sense that they themselves become their own teacher, and it's given a direction of mobility and into the space. So it's a very spacious way of moving.
So it's good. It's different. I like different. And can you tell us a little bit more about Chunky Move?
Yeah, so Chunky Move is one of the main contemporary dance companies in Melbourne, based over in South Bank, right next to the Malthouse Theatre and ACCA there. And recently, Anthony Hamilton, who's a freelance Melbourne artist, became the artistic director. I think the official date for the changeover was last year in April, I want to say. And they're an incredible organisation that have really supported the local dance community, as well as local diversity programs, and getting people involved in the dance scene as much as possible as well during this pandemic.
Very good. And how do you see the creative arts industry and the dance scene changing after all of this? Do you see massive changes in how you operate, and what are you hoping for?
Well, I think there was already huge shifts and changes happening within the way arts grants were given and received. And there was already a lot of people within the freelance community very worried about that, because the dance sector is quite a small sector, especially that contemporary dance sector. And I think there's even more fear, of course, with the recession, that more opportunities will be lost. And we all know Australians love so the concern is that we will get really pushed to the wayside. And we've seen it happen with freelance artists not having the support within JobSeeker or JobKeeper because of their range of jobs, and it doesn't fall into one small category, and some is on your ABN. So the fear is that there will not be that continued support or awareness of the different ways of working.
And that's sort of sad, but fingers crossed, and we hope for the best. And that's what we're trying to aim for this show, is just to promote the industry a little bit, promote people like yourselves, and get the word out there and get people talking that it's not all hunky-dory, and although the government's giving out money here, there and everywhere, that people are getting overlooked, industries are getting overlooked, and it's going to be tough for a lot of people, and we know that we're bracing ourselves for that, but what can we do? And we're trying to help that little bit.
Yeah, and the fear is, I guess I ran into a previous student of mine. She's in her third year at the Victorian College of the Arts in the dance degree, and in the third year there's a huge big performance, and they're not going to have that exposure from being able to perform. So, and the university work in ways of filming it and having doing part of it outside, but she still feels like a lack of hope because she's not going to be seen. She doesn't get that performance opportunity, and it just shifts to have that international relationship as well, of traveling overseas and bringing great artists here and going there. And
so what advice can you give to those people for, you know, obviously they're not getting stage performance practice and experience, but, you know, how can they stay in shape? How can they stay fit? How can they stay mentally in the zone during this time? What could be your final piece of advice that you can leave for dancers?
I think it's consistency is key. Like,
yeah,
just smallest little thing every day of a creative exercise. Doesn't have to be dancing, as I mentioned, but of and also just trying to have a little bit of hope in that consistency.
I think consistency is key with achieving any goal. You know, chip away. It doesn't have to be massive chunks, but you can chip away at something and still achieve what you want to achieve, you know, and just slowly get to where you want to be, which is great. And thank you for sharing that, and I really appreciate that. So, you know, it's been somewhat of an emotional interview because, you know, we've talked about the highs and the lows of, you know, what's going on in the world. But like I said, we always like to finish with something positive and fun. So we're going to play a little game, if that's all right with you.
More than happy to play a game.
All right, excellent. Can you see what I'm seeing?
I can.
Yes, okay. So this game is called Yoga Pose or Not Yoga Pose. So basically we're going to go through some slides, and you're going to tell me if it is a correct yoga pose or if it's an incorrect yoga pose. And if it's a correct yoga pose, tell us what the yoga pose is. And if it's incorrect, you can help me try to define what it is by coming up with a name for it, okay? So we're going to require you to be a little bit descriptive for us, but at the same time a little bit creative. So are you ready to play? Yoga pose or not yoga pose? All right, let's get started. Number 1. Yoga pose or not yoga pose?
Yoga pose.
Yes. Do you know what yoga pose it is?
Yes, it's otherwise known as tree.
Yes, very good. Tree pose. Well done. That's how I know it. Good. 1 for 1. Number 2, yoga pose or not yoga pose?
Not a yoga pose.
All right, it's not a yoga pose. It's more like Kung Fu, to be honest. What would you call this one?
Kung Fu power or something.
The Kung Fu power pose. Very good. Kung Fu power, that's what we'll call it. Kung Fu power. All right, number 3.
That is a yoga pose.
Very good. Do you know what it's called?
Downward facing dog.
Number 4.
I wouldn't say that's a yoga pose.
Okay, you're correct. What is it? Do you know what it is? It looks like more like contemporary dance. It looks like what you teach. This might be one of your lessons.
I would call that like an attitude illusion turn. Attitude illusion pirouette. How's that?
Very good. Attitude illusion contemporary pirouette. Very nice. All right, so it's not a yoga pose. Good job. Next one, number 5.
That is your upward facing dog in yoga.
Very nice. I've got another name for it. Again, you're probably right. I'm probably wrong, but I know it as the cobra pose.
Same vein. Same, but different. If you go to Thailand, it's same, but different. Exactly.
All right, number 6.
That is our malasana, which is a yogi squat.
Yogi squat. Very good. It's well done. All right, number 7.
Oh, that's not a yoga. Oh, it could be a yoga pose, a variation of one.
A variation of one, okay. Well, it's not a yoga pose, so you are correct. It is a b-boy move. It's break dancing. But what would you call it? If you were to call it a yoga move, what would you call it?
I would call it, it's like side crow.
Side crow. I like that. All right, we're going with that. Side crow. Very good. Number 8.
Oh, that's our wheel pose.
It is a wheel pose. Well done. Too good. All right, number 9.
I would not say that that's yoga, but like human Jenga, perhaps.
The human Jenga pose. All right, that's great. Well, it's not a yoga pose, but I gave him a tick anyway for effort because that's pretty impressive. All right. And then last one.
I would say that's like a happy baby, but that's a very cute little puppy. So happy puppy.
Happy puppy, very good. And it's the latest trend actually. It's dog yoga. All the dogs in isolation are doing it, and my cat does it as well. And it's basically just sleeping. Let's be honest, because animals love to sleep. Well, Kara, thanks for playing. Pose or not pose?
Oh, thank you so much for having me, and I just hope that people continue to learn and grow and be a little bit creative every single day.
Exactly right. Words to live by. Thank you so much, and thanks for joining us on the show, and hopefully speak to you soon. All the best. Thanks again to Kara for joining us on the show today, and we had a really good chat. And thanks for helping me with my yoga poses, which I really didn't know much about beforehand. We'll leave links to the information we spoke about in the description below, but make sure you like this video, hit that thumbs up, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any future content. But most importantly, like I said earlier, share this content, because we're really trying to help people within this industry. We're really trying to help promote them as well. This industry's really been hurt by the coronavirus pandemic, and just sharing this video is going to get the word out there. We'd really appreciate it. Once again, I'm Stephen, the man with the mustache. Thanks for tuning in to the Creative Arts Show, and we'll catch you next time.